Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition got the full Xbox Series upgrade, frame rate boost, it's got auto HDR, and it does support quick resume. So let's take a look at it and check out all of the upgrades. Sleeping Dogs, this game came out around the time that everybody was chasing the Grand Theft Auto style of open world, and Square Enix put their stamp on that genre. So essentially you start out this game and it's very linear. It doesn't feel very open world. You're just doing a bunch of quests going from one sort of corridor-esque world to the next. But as you get through that, essentially the prologue, the game opens up and it's much more open world. Like Grand Theft Auto, there's a lot of quests and stuff like that. So a lot of cinematic in this game. It almost has that sort of Uncharted feel to it in the beginning, where there's huge set pieces and you're running and you're jumping and you're dodging and there's a lot of things going on. So the presentation's really good here. I noticed that the frame rate is a solid 60 frames per second. This is an Xbox 360 game that's upgraded, and of course it's upgraded even more on the series consoles. So not a lot here stressing the system. They're powerful systems, so 60 frames per second isn't something that's difficult to achieve. The lighting is much more pronounced. I noticed that as well. And there are a lot of reflections that are just really nice in this game, and shadows that stand out when you're playing it on the Xbox Series consoles. I'm playing it on the Xbox Series S here. Let me get through this section here. Run and jump. This definitely feels like the Uncharted games. Very cinematic. The effects are really good, believe it or not, and it's very, very smooth. You can tell that it's 60 frames per second. You can tell that it's locked. There's no dips. There's no screen tearing. Now, it's an Xbox 360 game, but the character models do look good considerably because you're playing it on better hardware, and the graphics are enhanced quite a bit just by way of playing on the Xbox Series consoles. Let's take a look at the fighting here. So the fighting consists of X button, Y button to block, but unlike Batman where you can hold down that block button, you actually have to time the press of the Y button to the attack. So it's X, X, pause, and hold X for like a knee, X, 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 X for a combo attack, and like a roundhouse kick. You can also grab opponents with the B button and move them towards objects that are highlighted in the world, kind of like Splinter Cell Conviction when you can do that, and you can use those environmental objects against your enemies. You can pick up objects that they drop, like pipes, things like that, to fight them with. So the combat's actually pretty fun, not that complicated. There's a lock on with left trigger. Let's take out these guys here. All right. So you'll see I grab the guy, put him up against an object, or try to get him there. It's difficult to see the objects that are highlighted in red that you can use, so you really have to look out for them when you're grabbing somebody. You can grab them and you can melee them, or you can use an object in the world against them. X, X, X. Grab him, take him in here. Ouch. Stuff like that. Y button to time the evasive maneuver is a bit tricky, but the enemies light up in red as they're about to attack you, so that helps. Notice the shadows and the shadows on the ground there. Everything looks really clean. Oh, let's see if we can get this guy. Let's try and use the environment right here. Watch this. And good night, Irene. All right, pretty cool. So once you get, the hang of the game here, it's a fun game. There's a lot to do once you get to the open world. These stages are the linear stages in the beginning, but the lighting and the reflections here are really nice. I mean, you can tell that this game's been enhanced. Graphically, nothing's changed, so the polygon count isn't raised up past the definitive edition version that came out, but on the Xbox Series S and S, look at the reflections in the water there. And then, of course, once you get past that, you get to the open world, and it's a huge open world, Grand Theft Auto style. So there's side quests, there's main mission, there's the clothing shop, stuff like that. Everything's here that you would expect in an open world game. What's different about this, I noticed that it's much more story focused, so they keep you on that path of the story much more than Grand Theft Auto does. You can go off, of course, clicking the left stick You can select main missions, side quests, different things you could do in the world. It's much easier to find things to do than it is in Grand Theft Auto, where you have to go to the map, highlight things, zoom in, zoom out. And I like the way that as you're traversing the world here on a car or on a motorcycle, they're actually showing you where the turns are coming up, so you can do these really stylized sort of skids and slides on the bike or in a car. But everything looks really good. Let's go up here. I'm trying to get the bike off the street, and I'm just gonna run into the guardrail. No big deal. Let's get off. Just get off the bike. There we go. Just toss the helmet down. The helmet just disappears and reappears. So, I mean, it's an old game, Xbox 360. What are you going to do? But it feels really good. I mean, when you're running around the world, it doesn't look bad. I mean, it's an Xbox 360 game again, so some of the character models, like this guy right here, looks awful. But I'm having fun with it. Would I recommend playing it again if you've played it? No. Would I recommend checking it out if you haven't on your Xbox Series S or X? Yes. The upgrades look really, really good. And it's a fun open world game. It's a different take, again, on the Grand Theft Auto style. Square Enix did a good job here. It's kind of like Yakuza meets Grand Theft Auto meets action adventure. So it's definitely a fun game. And again, it does feel like there's a lot to do in this world. And at some points, like here at night when everything's lit up and the weather changes. Everything looks really good, especially on these enhanced consoles. Old games like this do get new life on these new systems. Now, obviously, I'd rather have a new game to play, and those games are coming. But it is nice to go back and check out games that you may have played and never finished or never checked out before. I mean, you can look how good everything looks here. And again, that frame rate is really smooth. You could just feel it. So that's Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition on the Xbox Series S. I would recommend checking it out if you haven't before. Thanks for watching the video. Like, subscribe, share out, and I'll see you in the next one.